And what they do is they put in a syringe, and instead of the nurse standing there and shooting into the patient's arm, it goes into a syringe, and the syringe pump pushes that medication through into the veins of the patient, and then that gives them the medication that they need to not be in pain. So it's a useful device for many different scenarios with patients. This next guy here is a feeding pump. And what that's used for is when patients can't eat solid foods and they're supposed to be eating things that are liquid, and they may not be able to chew or they may not be awake. So what they're able to do is, once again, into a syringe right into the arm, and they put a feeding tube in, and then the patient gets fed and they get the nutrients they need. So that's another critical piece of equipment. Now this last guy here is a patient monitor, and this is very essential for a hospital. It's a high-risk item, and that's because, and not as high as the DFib, but it's because this allows the nurse to see what's going on, even when she is not in the room. Okay, so if a heart patient goes in bradycardia, which is when the heart rate drops to a certain level, the monitor will alarm, tell that patient, that patient is heart's starting to stop, or maybe it's going too fast and they're going to have a heart attack. Well, they can be monitored centrally from this bedside monitor, and they can see that the patient's heart rhythm is not right. And even when it is right, they'll be able to see that on that monitor at the bedside or at the central. And once again, we realize nurses can't be everywhere to do everything, so these devices make the nurses and the doctors operate in a more, not only speedier fashion, but to assist them, because these days we can't have one nurse per room. It's just financially not feasible. So to alleviate some of the risk of not being in the room, we have devices that can be monitored centrally to take care of those needs. So you kind of now know what a biomed does, some of the equipment we look at, some of the risk involved for patients, whether it's a heart attack or maybe they're not breathing right, they go on a ventilator. All those are to aid the medical staff to take care of that patient. And what we do is aid the nurses and aid the doctors to make sure this medical equipment works. And my role, once again, is to make sure that my technicians are doing their job and that all equipment is up and running in a safe manner. And that involves many things which I won't discuss. I think we kind of briefly talked about them, but the one thing that I wanted to mention, and let me go back to my computer and pull up my notes, is that I work for one of the biggest companies, General Electric. They have many divisions dealing with locomotives, planes, turbines, wind turbines. I work in their healthcare division. So it's technology based in the medical field. And they're a conglomerate. They've are a multi-billion-dollar company. They are really vested in their employees. Many perks, many benefits of working for them, discounts. And one of the bigger things is the healthcare package that we get. And I briefly wanted to discuss a little bit about GE, just because I have some people in the room that are actually interested in being a biomed and working for a company. So if you can all bear with me, that would be great. But the average salary for a biomedical engineer, and this is not a manager, this is just a basic engineer, the median salary is $60,000 per year. Now, to some it may seem like a lot, but we all know that prices inflate. But the $60,000 is a fairly good salary for somebody coming out of school, maybe an associate degree. Now, most companies now require you have a bachelor's degree in at least electronics to go into the field of biomedical engineering, because you learn a lot on the job. But to be honest, they will sometimes working associates, but you probably want a bachelor's degree, but you start off at 60, but with GE, it's a nice structure. You can go all, sky's the limit. You know, as an engineer, I've seen people, you know, well into the hundreds as they get to my level and higher, 100,000 that is, to kind of aid you because they realize your health and pay compensation is important to not only them, but to you as well. So GE, like I said, is a big company. They care a lot about their employees. I've worked for GE for 9 years, enjoyed every minute of it, and I encourage those who are young and who are interested to talk to me afterward about this. I could delve more into it. I really didn't want to get too much into who GE is and what they do because, yes, I do work for them. It's a little important to talk a little bit about it, but the main topic of this discussion is what do biomeds do? And I just want to mention that it's not only what they do, but it's what they can do for you. So the next time when you see one of us walking down the hallway, don't just assume we may be IT or we are kicking our feet up. We don't do that. What we're all about is, just like everybody in this room, is looking after patient safety. That's our ultimate goal. That's what I do. I love doing it. I love being a part of helping people. So the next time you see one of us come down the hallway, we encourage you to come into our office, take a look around, shadow us. But you'll see that we work really hard at making sure that this equipment is safe. So I'd like to leave you with something, kind of a thought, is that patient, like I can't reiterate this enough, but patient safety is very important to all of us. So the next time you are in a hospital, and it might be going to the ER, ICU, you may be a visitor, etc. And you'll see the nurses and you interact with the doctors, and you know, you have a good experience or you don't. But the ones who are really forgotten about are the people who really drive this success. Without this equipment, without this technology, doctors are pretty much going blind into procedures. They are not able to detect cancers quickly. So the next time you walk in a hospital, take a look at some of this equipment. Stop and really think about, you know, who it is that looks after this, and that we're a part just as much as doctors and nurses to look after your loved ones. And GE has awesome technologies, as well as other companies like Siemens. But at the end of the day, we want to make sure that everybody is okay. So I want to thank you. And in the pamphlets, and just give me 1 second. I know you guys can follow this page by page, but let me just pull it up. And I do apologize. This is part of a class as well that I'm taking in public speech. So I wanted to make sure that I didn't forget my cited work. So I do have it listed on the final page of the document. Like I said, I do apologize. I'm trying to pull it up on my computer. Okay, so in the back of the document, you'll find a page that gives biomedical references. So I encourage everyone here to take a look at it. But I'm going to read these aloud, so I capture it for my speech. But one of the first references I used was biomedical.cua, that's cua.edu overview / what do whatdo.cfm, and that explains what a biomed does. And the next piece of cited work reference is, I encourage you all to look at www.gehealthcare.com. We are not only a service provider, but we are also a manufacturer of medical equipment. So I encourage you to look at that. It may be you're looking for a career in the field, or you're just more interested in what equipment we have out there. The third reference that I have is what is biomedical engineering, biomedical.net. So what does biomedical engineering encompass? So once again, I encourage you to look up that. And if you're, once again, looking in the field to be a biomedical engineer, if you go to www.payscale.com, they list what a median average salary is for a biomedical engineer. And then the final one I have is what do ESADO.com biomedical engineer, and that was just a separate reference to what does a biomedical engineer do. There are many people out there that describe it differently, so I didn't want to confuse anybody with just one reference, so that's why I put two in there. So with that said, I want to thank everybody for coming, and I will now open it up for Q&As. Let me just get the button to turn the speech off, and then we can talk. Thank you.